Sir, can we start the session?
Yes, we can start the session. You are muted.
Respected faculty members, very good morning to you all. And thank you so much. And our sincere applauds to each one of you for joining and connecting with us for the past 4 days. And today is the day 5 of this faculty development program on pharmaceutical innovations and protection strategies. And in view of this, on behalf of our principal sir and the management and all our faculty members, I extend my cordial welcome to today's renowned expert speaker, Dr. Yogesh sir, and sir is a senior principal scientist of CSIR New Delhi. And I welcome you, sir, for this 5 days FDP program. And thank you so much for accepting our invite and being with us today, sir. And I also welcome our colleague, Dr. Pushpa Kumari Madam, for this 5 days FDP program to introduce the citations of today's speaker. Madam, I request you to go for the citations of Dr. Yogesh sir. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Sucharita. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
So it's my great honor and pleasure to introduce the distinguished speaker of today's session, Dr. Yogesh Nathuji Doble, sir. Sir is currently working as Senior Principal Scientist, Innovation Protection Unit, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, that is CSIR, India's premier R&D institute, New Delhi. He completed his bachelor's degree at AECC Chikli Amravati University in 1998 and master's degree at Jamia Millia Islamia Central University, New Delhi in 2011. He was awarded PhD in Civil Engineering Water Pollution in Jamia Millia Islamia Central University in the year 2019. He has 20 years of vast experience in the area of intellectual property rights and its management, and he is a qualified patent agent. He has several articles published to his credit, and he has lifetime membership of Indian Association for Air Pollution Control, Delhi chapter. With this short note, I welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for bestowing us with your presence. Over to you, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, madam. And I request the today's expert speaker, Dr. Yogesh sir, to take over the session, sir.
Okay. So thank you very much. I would like to thank the 7 Hills College of Pharmacy for inviting me to this eFDP program. And I know you all had gone through a drill of 4 days, and it will be a slightly, I would like to say that I would like to curtail the repeatability of all the sessions that had happened earlier, and would like to focus on new things that you might not have come across. So I will now go forward the presentation.
Sir, you can share the screen.
Yes, I am sharing the screen.
Thank you, sir.
So are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, sir, you can continue.
Okay, may I start now? Okay. Thank you very much once again for inviting me to this presentation and giving me a topic of intellectual property and pharmaceutical industry. I would like to say that more of a concern is for intellectual property right is for pharmaceutical industry. Pharmaceutical industry is the only industry which needs high means always they are talking about the IPR, and this is more in a news because of the pharma industries only, because there lot of R&D is at a stake, means lot of investment goes on before before launching their product into the R&D. So R&D expenditure is enormous, and the clinical trials 1, 2, and 3 takes a major stake, and launching a molecule, launching a product. Before that, they need to do a lot of drilling on the intellectual property, who owns that actually, and whether they have the monopoly or not. That is the all concern every time they have. So let us begin. So my presentation is split in the manner like I will be discussing on what is the patentability criteria in particular to means which would be applicable to the pharma sector, and then touching upon how India was earlier, and how UK practices were there, because we came from we have the touch of UK because we were dominated by the British. So we have lot many things from Britain. So we will touch upon how intellectual property was before independence and then post independence, what happened and how we had progressed in this pharma, and what benefit we had got out of the amendments done in the past, and what is the progress so far. So let me say I will go in a fast way because you are already knowing about what are the patentability. So the essential criteria for patentability are there. It has to be useful, it has to be novel, and it has to be non-obvious. So useful means it should have some kind of utility, that is it should be industrial, it should have industrial application. Then coming to the novelty part, it must be new and different from the prior. That is to say that if a single document is available which is able to show that all the essential features of your invention are disclosed in it, that it is not novel. And then coming to the non-obvious, it is subject matter which is wholly not fully described in a particular document, and collecting all the document, and then it becomes obvious to persons dealing the art to come out of such invention. So new, as I told, it should not be published in India or elsewhere, and it should not have public knowledge anywhere in the world. Even if you are applying in India, you should not judge that I can get a patent very easily in India and not in Europe. Means I know that in US it is difficult to get a patent, but in India it is okay that I can get a patent. It is not the case like that. One has to fulfill the merits globally. So globally it should not be publicly available anywhere. And then coming to the inventive step is it involves technical advance as compared to the existing knowledge and have economic significance. Then, as I told you, industrial application, it should have some kind of industry's applicability. If this is not present, only you had done some research and you had isolated some kind of microorganisms and or enzymes and trying to protect them, and you don't know what is the utility of it, and it's of no use, you will not get a patent for it. Then these are some kind of exclusions that I feel that these are very relevant to the pharma sectors, and this will I will only discuss those parts. There are many other exclusions. Exclusions means that which are said to be the non-patentable inventions, for which the patent office of India in particular will not grant you a patent for those matters. We will be discussing these patentability criteria, which is applicable for India in particular. So, section 3B says that if it is causing some kind of serious prejudice to health or human, animal, or plant life, or to the environment, you will not get a patent for it. Like terminator gene technology or biological warfare you are talking about. Just like we had seen the COVID-19 virus, and if it is a destructive thing, but somebody comes with a virus, which is beneficial for this human, then it is okay. But if that material is of very seriously mass destructive type, then you cannot get a patent for it. Then coming to it should not be a mere discovery of a scientific principle or a formulation of abstract theory, discovery of any living thing, or discovery of non-living substances occurring in nature. So examples are given in my presentation. Then coming to the naturally occurring microorganisms, anything which doesn't have the human intervention, you will not get a patent for it. Then coming to this section 3D, section 3D is very important in particular to pharma sector, where there was a lot of hue and cry, which was actually the government thought that there is a need of amending the act because of the evergreening of a patent. So this section tells in, I will tell in different detail what is it about. It is a mere discovery of a new form of a known substance which does not result in the enhancement of known efficacy of that substance. Then for the purpose of this clause, that salt, esters or ethers, polymorphs or metabolites or any kind of pure form or particle size, whatever the changes you do, and unless the primary substance from which it is derived is having differ significantly in their properties with regard to efficacy. It has to be a technical efficacy. I have an example. I will discuss in detail what is this efficacy all about. So the crystalline form of a known substance means we need to put efforts in creating those salts, ethers and esters and polymorphs. It is not that means we have to always do research on those substances, even they are already known, to make them more compatible with the other products, but they are not given patentable weightage unless they are having some kind of efficacy, significant efficacy. So I had to discuss this. Then mere discovery of any new property or a new use of a known substance, or a mere use of a known process or machine apparatus, unless such known process results in a new product or employs at least one new reactant. So for this, in case of United States or in Europe or in Japan also, there are some kind of claims which are allowed on this new use. But in India, you are not able to get the patents on it because this is restricted. So new use of any aspirin for heart elements or new use of a neem, which is not, you cannot get a patent for such things. You need to have a where you can get a patent is that you when your process is the known process is able to give the new kind of product or which employs at least one new reactant, then only you will get a patent. There has to be one new reactant in the process, then you will be able to get a patent on the process. So substance obtained by mere admixture resulting only in aggregation of the properties of the component thereof or a process for producing such substances like combiflame. Combiflame is a combination of paracetamol and a brufen. But if it is not giving synergy, any kind of synergy is not there, means it should be not 1 + 1 2, it should be 1 + 1 11 or something like. Then only we will get a patent for those things. So therefore, the synergistic formulations are patentable. Then coming to this section is also very important because this is directly for the practitioners in the medical field who are the doctors or nurses which are practicing these processes for medicinal, surgical or curative processes. They are following it day in, day out, and they should not be bothered about whether whatever I am practicing, whenever I am injecting anything or when I am when the doctor is operating on a patient, he should not be thinking that whether the process he is following is patented and he cannot practice and he cannot operate. That is a very difficult, that would be a very difficult situation. So to deal with this, this is kept out of the purview of the patent. So what is patentable in this is that you can get a patent on surgical, therapeutic or diagnostic apparatus, not the process itself. So apparatus or instruments required for testing, you will get a patent. Then coming to the traditional knowledge, as you may be aware of this traditional knowledge, which was very in news in 98 or something long back, wherein people tried to protect the traditional knowledge which was available in India for turmeric, use of turmeric or a basmati, which was very well known that Indian basmati is having a very good fragrance and it is catching the premium rates. So people tried to protect those kind of things, and the turmeric wound healing bandage, that patent was knocked out by the Indians because it came under the purview of traditional knowledge. So traditional knowledge for this, it is our heritage. So if anybody tries to, even if the Indian is trying to get a patent for it, yeah, he will also not get a patent for it, because now this traditional knowledge is converted. We are trying, CSIR is trying to create a library of the traditional knowledge, which will have a lot of information and which is translated scripts of Vedas time. Therefore, the traditional knowledge, if any patent is having a traditional knowledge within that, then it will be very difficult for them to get a patent. So then, for which you can get a patent, any value addition using traditional knowledge leading to a new process or a product which is novel with inventive step and industrial applicability, you can get a patent for it. Okay, then comes to atomic energy, where we use atomic energy where in the X-ray machines or some machines which are medically very important, which may also fall in it. Then there these such applications where the radioactive materials are used. They are referred to this atomic energy department, and they will then certify whether this your invention falls into their defense category or not. If it doesn't fall, then they will notify you properly. Then you can get a patent. Even if your invention falls under atomic energy and you will not be able to get a patent, then and if it is really worthwhile, that the government will keep it secret and will remunerate you appropriately. So these are the useful links for prior art searches which are available, and you can very easily search the prior art. These are the free to use web pages on which you can get the patent. But however, free prior art searches are not doctored. So whatever it was there means it is not having the artificial intelligence within themselves. There are now the paid softwares also which use the artificial intelligence to make your task easy and smarter. So patentability criteria with special reference to pharma sector, and that was done. Then coming to the background of the Indian Patent Act, coming to the 1911, wherein the patentability of the inventions related to chemical substances, there was no restriction on whether you can have the product patent or a process patent. It was you can have any kind of patent in India. Several countries, other countries were having some kind of restrictions, and some restricted to only process patents, process by which the substance was obtained. Then coming to particularly in UK, this is now the history. Before World War, German scientists were very active in chemical research, and they obtained patents in UK. See, the German scientists were obtaining the patents in England for several new chemical products, and in particular the dye stuff, because in those days you may also recall that was the indigo that the Indians indigo was the agriculture produce, which was the main thing that the British government was taking from India to their country. So this was a very premium product in those times, that is a dye stuff. And the German scientists had taken the product patent for those things. So, but there was a case wherein the court said that the product, in those times, the UK court said that the product patent, product when manufactured by any process will lead to the infringement. So this was the means there was no scope for anyone to do any kind of further research in this area, because it was not and it was of no advantage, because whatever you do is here the product once it was protected, then doing anything by a new process was not patented. So there was also that it was also very difficult to get the compulsory license in those times. Although there was a provision to have the compulsory license, but it was not working. So the German scientist, Germany was having the practically a monopoly on the chemical industry in UK. So this scenario was there. Then later on, the UK Patent Office just a minute, hold on. Later on, the patent rights were given for inventions related to substance prepared or produced by chemical processes or intended for a food or medicine. There could be no claim of monopoly for the substance per se, but only for the substance when prepared or produced by a process described or by its obvious chemical equivalent. So, in order to promote the British companies in their chemical industry, so there was an amendment that to come out of their previous problems. Then in UK chemical industry from 1990 up to the end of Second World War progressed both in dyestuff and a drug industry. There was a direct effect could be seen, and the UK patent later on recommended in 1949 to lift such kind of restrictions on patentability of chemical substances. So whenever there is a problem, the governments in those times thought about some kind of amendment changes in their structure, federal structure to cater to their needs. So how the German scientists were, UK was totally actually literally caught into that clutches of the patent IPR, and then they just did some amendments and they had come out of that clutches, and the process patents they were able to get, and they were able to manufacture such things. Then coming to the Indian, the story was in UK. Now what was in India? So India, there were several amendments done, but there was no such because India was in dire need. India was not so progressed. So there was it was a worse condition for India also, but there was no such amendments done to cater to the needs of the India. So India remained in that phase only, which was in UK earlier. Then there was a committee named Justice Bakshi Tek Chand Committee in 1949, and then followed by a Rajagopal Iyengar Committee in 1957, which particularly enlisted the following: that they process patent instead of product patent for chemical processes. That too the patent was not for 20 years earlier. It was for 7 years was given for the product patent, not to that to pharmaceutical companies, but for the product patent for other things, and 14 years for a process patent. So India was totally in a different way. That came a compulsory license to ensure the availability of drug at a reasonable price. Then provisions to deal with the public health emergency came in, and revocation of a patent in public interest and on security concerns. So if you see all these kind of recommendations from the committee, they are all public good oriented. So government always have companies will always try to get more monopoly, and the government will try to get the balance between the monopoly, because India wants to progress. So progress happens only when the companies will be benefited and more jobs will be created. However, there has to be a balance between the public and the companies. So as a outcome, what happened because of the changes we had done because of this committee, the pharmaceutical industry started developing innovative processes and method standardization, including bioequivalence studies for process development, manufacture, and marketing of generic equivalents which were therapeutically equivalent to the innovator's product. And this has led to many new companies like Lupin, you can say Ranbaxy, and if as we all know that the India is now a leader in the pharma, and the very good example was dealing with a COVID kind of thing, and India was the exporter in selling the vaccines. So our companies grew by 18%, and we became self-sufficient in manufacturing of medicines. Now, this is just to give you a glimpse that we had done several amendments to that effect to bring in our, because we also had signed the WTO agreement. So to comply with it, we have to bring our laws, intellectual property laws, in equally good with the other countries. So that is why we had to make several amendments in 2005. It was the significant amendment which allowed product patent for food, chemical, and pharmaceuticals. However, as we become a member in 1995, we were given a buffer period that we will not reject any kind of product patents coming for a patent, but we will treat them after 2005 opening. So this was a dark phase, means the patent will be filed by the companies interested from 1995, but they will get a patent only after 2005. So that was the scene here. As we were the developing country, we were given a time to update our IPR laws. Coming to the inventive step now. The inventive step means a feature that makes the invention not obvious to a person skilled in the art. This was the amendment in 2002. Then the inventive step itself was changed in 2005, and it involved that even if there is a technical advancement or it is having an economic significance or both, then also you can then also your invention will get a will qualify the inventive step. As I told you that section 3D, and I will go to one case then. So this is a data which is very old, and this signifies something. Why I'm showing you is there what is the Indian contribution at that time to the total patents filed in India. So if we see the by Indians in 1930 to 38, it was 17% only. And in 1949 to 1958, again, it was 17% as a whole. So these are the number of patents were very few. You can say not across India, it was not more than 600 also. So in 1957, total patents filed in India at that time. So, and now it is coming to be 40,000 or something. Now the figures are now updated. So they are around 45,000 patents. And who all are interested in India? Majorly is US, Japan, China, and Germany are the interested. And as I had shown here, now the participation of Indians filing the patent in India is 33%. So there is a rise in the filing by the Indians in India from 17 to 33%, which is very good, but not that much. So the Indians have to do more things in it. That is why India has trying to put in more efforts on this awareness of intellectual property rights. And that is why you all are having this kind of seminars or webinars or whatever, in which way you will be motivated to file patents. So now coming to the compulsory licensing scene, what was the scene in compulsory license? In prior 1883, there was no provision of compulsory license in UK. Then there was a need felt that because of that provision that came in, because there was the product patent at that time in UK. So they thought that there has to be some kind of compulsory license. Why there is a need of compulsory license is that even if the patent is granted to somebody, if the patent is not worked and he only wants that the nobody should practice it, and I will also not practice, and I will not let others also practice that invention, which would be a very bad thing. Therefore, in order to have it practiced means it should be used by the society. Therefore, a reasonable requirement of the public in respect of invention, if not satisfied, or any person was prevented from working or using the invention of which he is possessed, will then only the compulsory license will be come into effect. So there was a Swan committee in 1948 in UK, which recommended there should be a retention of compulsory license provisions. So they had this. So as introduce a special provision of a grant of a license as of a right without requiring any proof of abuse of monopoly in case of inventions related to food or medicine. In particularly, Patent Act means IPR are more concerned about food and medicines only, because this is the general need of the public. So then compulsory license. Yeah, what were the changes in the compulsory license during the in India? So Indian Patent Act, which was amended time to time, was confined. The compulsory license was confined and is confined also now to food and medicines in particular, and to insecticide, and do not extend to other products or articles. So there is a section which directs that other than food, medicines, and insecticide also, this can be applicable by the central government. Then this Doha Declaration came in 2001. This was under the TRIPS, members of the TRIPS agreement decided that there should be some kind of freedom to determine what and when should be the compulsory license invoked. So each member has so what was decided that when the compulsory license should be invoked is when there is a national emergency or circumstances of extreme urgency is being understood that the public health crisis, including those of HIV or TB or malaria or any other epidemic, pandemic or national emergency, then this compulsory license can be invoked. And or in case where there is insufficient or no manufacturing capabilities in the pharma sector, then also it can be invoked. So this this Doha Declaration helped in creating mechanism to allow WTO member to issue compulsory license to export generic versions of the patented medicine to countries with insufficient or no manufacturing capability. So the benefit of this Doha Declaration was to the very poor countries where they are unable to manufacture those products, those pharma products, and there was a dire need of the medicines. Then we will see what are the revocation on patents for abuse of monopoly. So neither the Indian Patent or the Design Act in 1911 nor the Patent Bill in 1953 had any provision for revocation of patent on abuse of monopoly by the patentee. Such a provision was enacted in UK. It was there, and it is found in certain other countries also. But if we see now the position of the means, we had seen up till now how the UK was and how India was in that period, pre-independence also and now also, and how we had changed so far. But I would like to show you one thing, that what was the US position position in 2014. They had kept us in priority watch list country. Meaning is that this if you are falling under this priority watch list country, that means that companies will not be coming and filing the pharma patents in India. They would resist themselves from filing the patent in India because of what it says that this report, it is a press release by the government of India, because this was because the United States of America has for 2014, this was a report, special report, and classified us in a priority watch list because of this concerns of provisions of Section 3D, which stops evergreening of a patent. This was a concern of them because they will not be able to file many more patents, which relates to non-patentability of inventions involving chemical form. And the compulsory license is also the issue, as I told you, and this is what. So they are also having this kind of provisions, and governments are required to take necessary action. It is not that only the progress of the pharma companies is required. It is also needed, but in totality, if India has to see, it has to see with regard to the people of India, how it will be beneficial for them. So whatever is done, it is done with the due consciousness, and but the United States is happy to keep us in priority watch list countries. And in the same way was in just the same was in 2022, the recent one. This also says that they are limited. This is also the report by the US in 2022, more recently. This also talked the same thing, and they also say that there is a high customs duty on IP incentive products such as medical devices, pharmaceuticals, information and ICT products, solar energy defense, and all others. But in particular, in the pharma sector, the US continues to monitor the Section 3D, and they want that US wants that our law should be amended with regard to Section 3D, allowing them for more to drop that efficacy requirement of the patent qualification. So now coming to the Patent Bill 1953, which was the India's, and as you can see, there are only these 4 sections were there, which lead to the non-patentable inventions. But now, if you see, there are now 16 clauses under which you cannot get a patent for it in today. And then if you come and see it very closely, there are now the special acts which cover the excluded part, like the copyright, patent, design, trademark, geographical indications, semiconductors, or the plant variety of farmers' rights, and the contract. There is also a contract law. Means if you are if somebody means trade secrets are revealed. Then there are the contract act and something which will cater to. Now, what happens? There was a very interesting studies done by the people. What happens when you file a patent? How much beneficial it is? So in 1950s, Scherer studied firms in the United States. In 1970, there was a study in the UK done, and the Cohen et al. These are the research paper that I had studied, and I tried to show you the glimpses of it. What actually there is a thought. So Gota and Nagata for Japan. So most of the studies, US, UK, US and Japan, Europe also. I had studied, and they concluded, most of the conclusion is that aside from pharmaceutical firms, in most industries reported that patents were neither particular effective nor necessary for enabling them to appropriate returns from their R&D. So this was the conclusion by them, that only most of the patents go down the drain because most of the industries try to use them as an in-house capability and to strengthen themselves. Correct. So that is why only the pharmaceutical companies were seen as mostly using this patent as an effective tool. Others were not being able to use them properly. So you see, then what are the uses of the patent? Patent are also used both defensively and proactively in so-called patent portfolio basis to create leverage against competitors or with potential partners. Use of patents as an infringement trap by non-practicing entities or trolls, uses that are utterly unrelated to incentive or invention. For example, biotech companies and a startup in other high-tech fields that routinely use patents not so much as an incentive for invention, but to create asset they can put on the table when negotiating venture capital funding, or as a tool to enhance their valorization and thus gain better terms under which to be acquired by the large firm. So there are many ways in which the patent is used as a tool. It is not only the monetary gains, but there are other aspects also, which means directly licensing and something one normally it is understood that either you can use it for yourself or you can license it. But there are many other things that you can do out of it. So sometimes too much patent protection can means this is in favor of the means for the government, it is said. Sometimes too much patent protection can impede rather than promote the progress of science and useful art. The constitutional objective of the patent and copyright protection. So patent giving too much protection, like product only, giving the patents to product, as we had said, that was really hampering the coming for the new inventions. So government relax the laws, and that is how the science progressed in a different way, and the people in general got benefited. So then the TRIPS agreement continued to hinder the desired access to immunosuppressant, thereby worsening the prospects of KT recipients in developing countries. These countries should maximize the flexibilities available under the treaty to improve access to immunosuppressant drugs. And the low and middle class income countries will need to master much needed political will to make optimal use of TRIPS flexibility, not minding threat of economic or political sanctions that may emerge from their developed countries' counterpart. See, this is what the author had written in it in there, is that we should not be worried about the political sanctions like the US report, what they had given, they kept us in a watch list. We should not be worried about these economic or political sanctions of the developed countries, but we should always try to use the TRIPS flexibilities to our benefit. That is the message that I wanted to share with you. So this the main thing was this only. So then came then the info, what this new development that is called the ICT. That computer technology has given us so much of benefits now that I am able to give a talk to you on a webinar or online, or it has made the things very simple now, and this has helped in creating new kind of platforms. So there is this is now the open innovation kind of environment nowadays, wherein you can have the co-locations everywhere. And as you had seen, the people are working from home. For the COVID had taught us that we can work from home and deliver the same output. And in such a way, the open innovations are also working. The firms can and should, and they are using the external ideas as well as the internal ideas, and trying to make the things solve the problems in a very short time. This is because of the new concept called the open innovation. So idea cannot, it is not that the in-house team will only be able to deliver the ideas to that particular problem, but it is now the combined effect of all the people whosoever are interested in giving their inputs, and they will then have a collaborative agreement or some kind of to deliver the open innovator to deliver to that objective. So the CSIR tried its effort to be in this open innovation. As you know that this tuberculosis is a one kind of disease wherein the developed countries don't have any problem, and they feel that the poor countries will not be able to give the return on the investments because this tuberculosis is more of a poor people disease. So the companies are reluctant to put any kind of investment in this. Therefore, the CSI thought to have some kind of open innovation platform in this particular tuberculosis to work upon, and there was a project in that time, 2010 something, wherein the CSI put in efforts to have, collect the people and try to have a platform where the scientists can come together and solve the problem of tuberculosis. Then, as we had seen, the pharmaceutical industry is one of the most intensive knowledge-driven sector. Pharmaceutical research is very costly and unpredictable in nature, Therefore, it was very important. Then the outcome of the research can be in the form of new inventive or useful product. In this highly competitive market, it is imperative for the pharmaceutical companies to protect their inventions for any unauthorized commercial use. So the main objective of them are these only. Then the patentable invention, a new product, and I know that you had gone through the 4 days session and you know what is patentable inventions, but this is because of my presentation style. I have to come across this many so that there has to be flow. I have to be in this flow. So drug compound patents. So what kind of drug compounds patent can be paid? So now I will come now more closely to the claim section of the document, which is the heart of any patent. So patents, in the patent, when you file a patent, there is a claim section. And that claim section is the section wherein you try to ask the government to give me these rights. So patent, if you had not written the claim, the things in the claim section, and you had described it in a whole document, but you failed to write it in the claim section, you will not get the rights for that, and that rights will go to public injunction. So the patent claim a drug compound by its chemical structure per se. You can get a patent or a chemical patent claims are usually referred as a Marcus type of claim. So Marcus claims is a claim of a compound wherein you have many substituents to that one compound. You can have lot many substitutions. So in one patent, you can actually have many kind of compounds. So this is one example wherein we can see that you can substitute R1 to anything, R2 R2, R3, R4. This is a main structure. You can say the skeleton, and to that skeleton you can substitute. You can give what would be the possible combinations of your compound. So this was for a patent. This is having a Indian patent number. So I tried to give the example where the patents are granted for such kind of things. So this is a chemical structure for a new drug compound useful for the control of parasite. I don't know how to get out of this above thing, because all my titles are going upwards, and my slide is not visible in totality. So I really don't know how to get out of this. So formulations, for the patent related to formulations, patent claim a specific technology to prepare a formulation or the quantity of its key ingredients. These are also the type of claims. And this is the example of it, wherein the Ayurvedic antiretroviral composition for treatment of acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, that is AIDS, it was there, and it is claimed in patent number this. This is, if you see now, we had come, we can see very clearly what kind of composition is there. So what is the how much milligram it should be there, it is very clearly written here. So, and in combination with the pharmaceutical acceptable exhibit. So this is the structure of a formulation claim, or the composition claim we can say, and you have to very clearly write what it is all about, and this may attract the mere admixture thing. So one has to give lot many examples on showing that individually there is no effect on this AIDS thing, but when it is in combination, we deal it gives really a very good effect. Means a very phenomenal effect. Then coming those synergistic combination is required. So the synergistic combination of then there is another example of synergistic combination. This is a medicament comprises a PDE inhibitor, which is to administer orally from group combining this and beta adrenoceptor and a beta to adrenoceptor. So this is a synergistic combination of goflomilast and solmitirol. So herein also uh, there must be the examples wherein they are tried to show what and where the synergism is required. Then coming to the technology patents. So the patents which are based on techniques used to solve specific technology related to problems like stabilization, test masking, or increasing the solubility. Means even if you are not having the section 3D, uh, uh, you also can have the patent for the technology specific. Means if you are if you are having some kind of methods to deal with these issues, then you can have the patent for it. There is a example for it. So for the pharmaceutical formulation having a masked test, the masking of which process during the administration of the formulation, in particular in the form of suppression of an aqueous vehicle. As we know, as we had already, as we know the taste of the paracetamol. Paracetamol is very bitter in taste, and if we give to the kids, and they will not like it. But the same paracetamol, when you give the crocin, crocin is having a flavor. So the children don't have the problem to take that crocin. So that is the effect of this masking. So this is also it is also very important. So such patents are also granted. Then comes to the biotechnology patents. So biotechnology involves a use of a living organism or a biological material in the preparation of pharmaceutical products. So biotechnology patents cover a wide range of diagnostic, therapeutic, and immunological products. So this was an Indian. There was an Indian patent. These patent numbers are given here. You can actually refer to them and see what is that patent all about. And even in those patents, you can go through and to the file wrapper, means what the examiner has said, how the patent was granted, what is the process flow. One can go through it and read it very carefully. What are the arguments, and not only into those in this patent in particular, but the patents of your interest and where you are in the area of your working. You can go into it and see what is the patent listed when it was filed, what was the examiner's observations, what are the citations in it, what are the research publications, or what are the patents that the examiner had referred to, then what the inventor or the applicant had given the response to it, and what kind of justification the inventor has tried to provide in in that patent. Means it is kind of a study that will be happening with you, and this will generate the more knowledge within yourself on how you can file a patent. Main focus of the such FDP program is that you also learn and you also let people learn. So the thing is that the knowledge should not be kept with myself only, but giving to others. So making people more sensitizing more people on how you can file a patent is very more important, rather than only taking the help of a patent agent. Patent agents are okay, but thing is that how you can make them aware of how they would be able to file a patent. In fact, now you can use the ChatGPT like platforms to draft your claims also. I personally have tried it and it gives you very good drafting results also. And you can also use that ChatGPT platform to draft the claims. Yes, but you need to also see whether he had drafted the patent in a nice manner or not. You have to see that. Means if you give him the instruction, like I want to have the patent claim drafted, which is having this particular this for example, say human serum albumin-free interferon solution having containing what interferon this and non-ionic detergent buffer and adjusting the pH to this and optionally using this. So he will draft a very good patent for you, claim for you. So you check out whether it is written or written in a proper fashion or not. That way also you can do. So it is all about how we can use the new platforms available to this generation, like artificial intelligence. So coming to the another example now is the polymorph are the different physical forms of a crystal structure of an already known compound. So polymorph, as I told you, is not patentable, but some patents are available. But you see, as I said, the efficacy is very important aspect. So claims the crystalline form of a atorvastatin magnesium characterized by X-ray diffraction pattern. Said crystalline form shows purity greater than 90. So one thing I would like to state here is that you should not be afraid of what the patent sections there are in the patent act. You should focus on your research area and you try to build in the system. You should not be obstructed by these sections of patentability, non-patentability, but I would like to say that you focus on your research aspect and come out of it. There would be the patentability aspect somewhere or the other that the patent agent would be able to tell you, and how you can see means there is always a way of hope of getting a patent. Yeah, he knows in particular how you can get a patent out of it. So as I told you about the section 3D, this is the important one. Then a process patent does not claim the product per se, rather it only covers, this is for the process patent. So it rather only covers a new or an inventive process to produce a particular product. So this is an example wherein a process to synergize lactone of formulation this. Then coming to a very beautiful case study, which I think had given a dent to the Novartis, a big company, international company. This company filed a patent application in 1998. As per the TRIPS agreement, there was a mailbox, means you just have to drop the application. It was filed in Chennai Patent Office, and it was for the anti-cancer drug, which was having a beta crystalline form of a imatinib mesylate under the brand name Lilith for the treatment of leukemia and tumors. So this drug was patented in more than 35 countries, and the Novartis was very sure that they will get a patent. But as for the section 5 of the 1970, and under this patent would be examined only after 2005. After the year 2005. So in 2005, the Chennai Patent Office, the Madras Patent Office, rejected their patent application based on the grounds of novelty and non-obviousness. And under that section 3D, main objection was that the said drug did not exhibit any major change in therapeutic efficacy over its pre-existing form, that is Zimmermann patent. So the Novartis was already having the patent on this, and they were trying to have the patent on this new form. That was a beta crystalline. So then after Novartis filed 2 writ petitions in 2006, and they were objecting to the directly to the section 3D, means it, which is unconstitutional because it is not in compliance with the TRIPS agreement, and says that it violates the Article 14 of Constitution of India and the other against the order passed by the Madras Patent Office. Thereafter, the Madras High Court transferred the case to, there is a special tribunal, means it was a special tribunal, Intellectual Property and Appellate Tribunal in 2007. Now it is no more. It is now the all the cases are referred to the court. Then this appeal was finally heard and dismissed by IPAB, stating that the invention satisfied the test of novelty and non-obviousness, but patentability of product was hit by the section 3D. Then the judgment was given by IPAB is to prevent evergreening of already patented products by introducing minor changes and to provide easy access to the citizens of India to life-saving drugs. Then main issues were that whether this section 3D is valid or not, what should be the efficacy, and what is the therapeutic efficacy, whether increase in biological availability qualifies an increase in therapeutic efficacy. There were not many questions that were in, and this case was in news for many times. And in the judgment in April 2013, two-bench judge rejected the appeal filed by the Novartis and upheld that the beta crystalline form is a new form of a known substance and cannot be given a patent. And also the efficacy, the government of India tried to define it as only means a therapeutic efficacy. And it also stated that all properties of drug are not relevant. The property which directly related to efficacy in case of medicine is its therapeutic efficacy only. And Supreme Court in third issue ruled about 30% increase in bioavailability qualifies an increase in the therapeutic efficacy. So the government of means the court also defined that there should be a 30% increase in bioavailability. So this has become a benchmark for all the cases related to such thing. Then this Supreme Court compared both the drugs and with reference to its flow properties and thermodynamic stability of the lower hydrophobicity, and held that these properties are not actually contributing and to increase the therapeutic efficacy, and Novartis was allowed to provide some kind of documents which actually shows there is a therapeutic efficacy in it. So Novartis was unable to provide any kind of such document, and this patent was got rejected from the court, Supreme Court. Thereafter, if you see what was the patent scenario here in 2000 up till these private companies were very enthusiastic that the patent they've started filing in 1998. The patents were getting increased in the pharmaceutical sector, but in 2005 there was this Novartis case came in, and you can see here really a drastic drastic change, the drop in the number of filings in India. So there is a effect of whatever the policies or whatever the cases happen in India. There is you can see a direct effect on filing of a patent. So same is the case with the granted numbers. The people, those who file in this phase, but they also miss the granted number should have increased, but they were not interested in getting a grant of a patent in India. So the grant number also did not rise in that phase. So this is a direct effect of what the court's ruling and what happens. So the main concern here was the foreign pharmaceutical companies are worried about Section 3 because of it includes restrictive patent eligible subject matter provisions. Then the foreign pharmaceutical companies consider compulsory license issue in 2012 as a part of anti-patent policy. So compulsory license, one patent also got a compulsory license, and this was also seen as a not good thing by the foreign companies. So if you have any questions, I am ready to take.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Okay. Sorry, sir.
Sir, thank you so much. And we have few questions in the chat box, sir. First, we can address those questions. Then we can request the delegates to go for a query.
May I unshare myself?
Sir?
I had unshared. Okay. Because I have to take no questions.
Sir, here is one question, sir. I think you have addressed those questions, sir.
No, let me see. One novel innovation is
identified
by one research scholar in X lab. Then X lab is also having the same rights on that patent. One novel innovation is identified by one research scholar. Then that X lab is also having the same right on that patent. I could not get it, but I would like to say that you need to qualify the novelty criteria globally, whether it is done in somebody's lab or the other lab. Whosoever reports it first to the patent office will get a patent, or if that person has not reported to the patent office that invention and the person had published it by any means, not only in research paper but in public newspaper also, or by any video means also. It means now YouTube or any Instagram or any kind of written or the video or anything, wherever you had discussed it, means your novelty is gone. It is not that you are publishing it only in scientific journals, then only your patent means you are safe. Otherwise, it is not the case. If you had used any kind of platform which is meant for the general public, then your novelty is gone.
Sir, probably the question is, one research scholar have invented one particular prototype in one lab. So the research scholar along with the concerned research lab, both are having the rights on that filing of a patent, or only the research scholar having the rights to file for a patent?
See, it depends on if actually the inventor has given who is the inventor. The main question is that he is asking about who is the inventor. So naturally, if his guide or his professor had given the intellectual inputs in performing his studies, means performing that particular program, then only there should be the inventorship given to that means working group. We should say it as a working group because it is always that one researcher one scholar is working, but you see there are not many people who are also around and getting through your invention is helping you in getting to that particular solution. So I would say that it is particularly subject to matter, and it should be this means it should be resolved at the institutional level only. And if you are having some kind of documentation, so the people in like in CSIR also we have some kind of information disclosure document wherein we actually write in who is the inventor and what kind of intellectual contribution of that particular person is there. So this helps in providing the actual this is a record for all time which helps in many other problems which come up in a later phase. When the patent gets commercialized, then only these problems will come that I had contributed, I had not contributed. Means, even in CSR, there is a practice that we have to make it public, put that before filing a patent, we have to put it on a public notice where that this patent will be is about to be filed, and if there is any kind of objection, then there is a time period which is given for raising the objection. If no objection is received, then the patent is ready to be filed by that particular inventor or inventor group. Am I clear?
Thank you, sir.
Am I clear on this?
Yes, sir. Yes. Sir, we can take a few more questions from the delegates, and I now request the delegates, if you have any queries, you can unmute and you can interact with today's expert speaker, Dr. Yogesh sir, please. Or you can also post your queries in the chat box so that we can address all the queries.
I think your institute should always consider to take one or two such not FDPs but webinars, workshops in the intellectual property right area that would because people go and leave, so there is always a new generation coming in. So every year, if you make a practice of having a workshop like this would actually help you in creating the culture in your institute to have the awareness of intellectual property rights and how to file a patent. They will discuss, and when even in college, master's level program or a PhD level,
Sir? The delegates apologize for this technical glitch, and sir will be joining in a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, I can request the delegates, if you have any queries, you can post it in the chat box before moving to the vote of thanks for this today's session. Thank you, dear delegates, for joining for this today's session on day 5. And we sincerely thanks to our today's expert speaker, Dr. Yogesh sir, on behalf of our management and principal sir. And I now request Dr. Pushpa Kumari madam to kindly felicitate today's expert speaker, Dr. Yogesh sir. Madam, kindly do the honors, please.
Thank you, Sucharita. So on behalf of Seven Hills College of Pharmacy, Autonomous Tirupati Management, Principal Sir, organizing team of eFDP and faculty, I request Dr. Yogesh Nathuji Doble Sir to kindly accept our token of gratitude.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So it is a small felicitation. Please accept this e-certificate as a token of gratitude, sir. We feel it as our honor, sir.
Sir is accepted, madam, and posted the message in chat box.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, madam. And thank you so much, sir, for addressing all the queries as well as the wonderful session. And you have given a good examples of case studies in relevance to the pharmaceutical industry as well. And you can see all those lot of accomplishments in the chat box as well. Thank you so much for accepting and making this a wonderful session, sir. Thank you so much from Seven Hills College of Pharmacy. Hope to connect with you in next future events also, sir. Thank you once again. And I request all the delegates to join for today's afternoon session exactly by 2 p.m. and hope so this is the last session for our today's FDP, which is followed with a valedictory function. Hence, I request all the delegates to kindly connect with us for the session 10 of this 5 days FDP as well as the valedictory. Thank you once again. Thank you so much.